Schools. Those are generally one of those things where typically you would think it's always a student, but it's not always a student, and we've all seen that. Sandy Hook was a prime example of that. That was a teenager that went to the elementary school and did what he did. And then there's others, and that could be anything from trying to think, parks, not necessarily something that has an event, a specific event going on, but a rally, people doing their protesting for their First Amendment right type thing, and it not necessarily apply to the outdoors because those can be held anywhere. What's the attacker's connection with the event? Well, this shows a percentage of the connections that most of them have, and as you can see, 81%, I'm reading that right, I'm 60, sorry, I'm getting old. Anyway, 61% have no connection with their targeted intent, which is kind of odd because, like I said before, is it that guy that just got mad that one day and said, you know what, I've had enough of this. I'm going to go out and do something to make my point clear. And then there's a group that has the 39% that does have connections. What's probably one thing that goes in mind with someone that has connection? And employers always try to do it on Friday. There you go. So an employer, if they want to terminate someone from a job, they generally wait till Friday. Why? Because the likelihood of something happening, it's not going to say it doesn't, but it puts that time frame over the weekend that there's no employers there for that person to get mad and come back on the next day with a plan to take out all the employees in the building. That's just one type of connection. Schools, another one. Student gets upset, they have a connection with the school. You know, being bullied, problems at home, struggling, stress, and all that kind of stuff. Those things like that would show a type of connection. But let's say the attackers that don't have a connection with that group. Well, what would one group will that be? Somebody for this, obviously the Hamas thing's going on right now. A counter-protester is what we would call it, or an anti-Hamas person would take offense to that. No affiliation, no connection at all, they just don't like it. So you kind of see the difference between the two as far as those groups are concerned. Does that make sense? So then this is a list of some of the recent, I guess as early as 2014, of these mass attacks that's happened over the United States in the past few years. The Pulse nightclub in Florida, the concert at Las Vegas, and these are these places I'm telling you from the other groups of where they could happen at, the outdoors, the businesses, and all those types of things. This was at a park in New York. Just hit people over in a park. And I hope I don't offend anybody with the violent stuff here. If you do, just tell me. And just, I try to tell it like it is, but if it's something offensive, just say, hey, that's a little strong. So, the shooting at the Texas church in 2017. Now, how quickly the police arrived. The average time from what this presentation presents is 3 minutes. Now, 3 minutes is a long time, is it not? It might not seem like it is, but it is a very long time. What's the opportunity that the person or the active shooter wants? The availability of a target. Where's my target? Is it a school? Is it a religious facility? Is it a business during the holiday season? Where can I get my most attacks at? And that's one of the things they look for. Is it that group that's made me mad that I'm tired of? So as I said before, it's 3 minutes. And that is a long time. Law enforcement can do what they can, and obviously in this nation right now, we're struggling with filling the ranks. By the way, anybody looking to be a trooper? I brought some applications. I'm trying. I'm trying. Anyway, but on a serious note, though, the background of science, how people behave in high-stress events. So now this turns more to how you would react, generically speaking, and this is not every specific person, but it's the reaction that leads up to these things to help you better understand when these things take place, hope they don't, what your reaction is leading up to what you would do. Disaster response. And that's one of these things that, we had the Pentagon attacks and all those things from September 11th. That is one of the things that, how do you respond to those types of situations? This goes beyond the attacker himself going after a group of people. What is your response to that? So denial, deliberation, and decisive moment. So denial access is what that leads to. You have to find a way to deny access to this person, to get to this group of people or yourself. And it's one of those things, what does that mean? But yes, so you have to look at these things in a very optimistic way and understand how people react to things that leads up to what they do and how they respond to any type of situation. It could be driving a car, that kind of thing. The light turns yellow. Do I brake? Do I go for it? Is there a state trooper behind me? Is there not a state trooper behind me? You just never know. But anyway, those reactions tell you a lot about how people respond to active shooter events. And this actually gives you an idea of the mass mindset, again, generically speaking, of how people react to
plays like this street in New York City. If you were unfortunate enough to be the victim of a crime or taken ill unexpectedly, you might think that surrounded by all these people, someone would intervene. After all, isn't there safety in numbers? Psychologists say no. Research suggests that often a victim is less likely to receive assistance when surrounded by a group rather than a single bystander. When people are in a crowd, it's easier to pass the buck. It's what psychologists call the diffusion of responsibility. Liverpool Street Station in London, a busy thoroughfare for commuters. Unknown to these passers-by, Peter is an actor. As part of an experiment on bystander apathy, he's pretending to be ill.
Help! Help!
How long before he gets help?
Please, somebody. Help! Help me, sir. Please help me.
Helping would be inconvenient or even risky. He lies there for more than 20 minutes and no one raises an eyebrow.
Please, somebody help me.
It's always very distressing to watch situations like this where people are obviously suffering and no one's actually helping them. But what we have here is two conflicting rules. One is the rule that we ought to help, and the other is the rule that we ought to do what everybody else is doing. And here you have effectively a group of strangers who are exerting the pressure not to intervene, not to help. And it's very difficult to rebel.
Ruth, another actor, takes Peter's place. How long before she receives help? Four minutes later, and 34 people have passed without stopping.
Well, people don't really want to know. They just haven't got the time. Well, they have got the time, they just don't want to get involved.
Unwittingly, these strangers have silently formed a temporary group with a rule: don't get involved. They're afraid to stand out from the crowd and won't take action if no one else does. This woman has clearly spotted Ruth, but she conforms to the rule and does nothing. Watch what happens, though, when someone else helps.
You alright? You alright?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, you look a bit clicky, you know what I mean?
She suddenly finds herself in a different group with a new rule: to help.
You want to sit up? You alright? Yeah. What's wrong?
First I thought she was dead. Then I sort of checked to see if she was breathing or not. And I looked around and I couldn't believe that no one had noticed her, because there was a bloke sat there just absorbed in reading a newspaper.
This time, Peter's dressed as a respectable gentleman. Now that his dress is in keeping with those around him, how long before he's rescued?
Hello, sir. How
are you today?
I'm all right.
6 seconds. She even calls him sir, and suddenly everyone's a good Samaritan.
Do you suffer from epilepsy?
No.
Why you're lying on the floor in the rain?
Because he's part of the right group, everyone wants to help.
I would just hate to be in his position of feeling ill and nobody helping and walking past, so I'd just like to check that he was okay.
And I thought, well, it's wet, so he must really be ill because he's going to ruin his suit anyway.
So what did y'all think about that? It is. And I'll tell you this, and that man over there knows it too, I see this every day. You want to know why? All these accidents we have on the interstate with injuries, nope, that doesn't bother me. I'm going to keep driving every single day. No one checks on anyone, especially the really bad-looking crashes. So, there's a few, don't get me wrong, it never happens, but just seeing that makes me, first thing I think about is when I'm at work. Hey, can you respond to accidents, injuries, wherever? I'm 66. Okay. Anybody here was a witness? No, we're all involved. Did you see it happen? Oh, no, I stopped and helped someone out. They had a cut to the head or something like that. It's the mindset of, do I need to get involved? Do I want to get involved? Do I even want to react to this? Is this going to ruin my day if I stop and help someone else?
Plays like...
Oops. The arrow button for the next one? Sorry. Okay. So then we move on to deliberation. So the human brain and the lizard brain. What does the human brain do? It thinks. What are the reactions for the human brain to think? Is fight or correction? Yeah, fight, flight, or freeze. Does that sound about the right of the three choices? And again, think of the active shooter perspective. Do we fight it out? Do we run? Or do we just, I hope they don't see me? Now this goes into, as I said before, your stress response and how you react to things in high stress situations. I can tell you right now, I will have a one-track mind on what I need to get done if I'm in a high stressful situation, and it makes me think like, I forgot something. Once you've calmed down, like, did I forget something? Did I forget something? And I'm not just specifically talking to active shooter, but just in general. We've all been in a high stressful situation at some point in our life, right? You know, near car accident, I don't know, something could have fell and hit you on the head, which that's why I don't have any hair left. But anyway, but you know, anything would get your heart rate up, depending on what the circumstances are. Right now, if it was me and my heart rate had to go, it would probably be someone pointing a gun at me. And it is like you are so focused on that, it's almost like you tune things out because you see a threat to your life. But we have to keep it under control. This is also video. So watch the stress response of the woman with the baby stroller. Play. What was wrong with that? Why did you think it took her too long? She's used. And it's her stroller, and she does it every day. Why would it take so? There you go. Why would it take so long for someone that does something every single day with the exact same stroller, same kid, in and out of that stroller, and yet when a stressful situation kicks in, it's I gotta go. You're not focused on what you're doing. You're trying to do it, but it's not all there. What am I doing wrong? Because you're not taking that time to catch yourself. And I'm not saying pause, but take that time to catch yourself. What's going on? All right, I got to get my kid out and then go. So you're right. You're absolutely right. Oh, I'm sorry. Next slide. All right. So this is a nightclub incident. I believe it was the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. I think I was that tall in the 80s, but yeah, and I had hair out to here, I think. It must have shrunk over the years, but anyway. But this was about a nightclub that, I forgot where it was, I think New York City maybe, and the interior area caught on fire. And this is the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting play. Just watch the stressful reaction of these people. see that reaction time on that? Now, all right, thank you. So, in hindsight, when you think about it, the stage catches on fire. It's like, oh, that must be part of it. Wait a minute, why would the stage be on fire? You know, and you see how rapidly it started spreading up front, but the person holding the camera, you saw people are still standing there chatting. There's no rush to get out of the building. There's just like, oh no, that's not happening. That mindset. Oh no, that's under control. It's not saying that you delete that completely out of your mind, but that moment to react to something should be right there. Like, that fire's getting bigger. We should be working our way out the door in less than a minute at least. In this case, less than 30 seconds. So then this tells you where, make sure I read you rightly what it says here, where these different people were at when this stage caught on fire, which was right here. Obviously, the large group here was a crowd, and once that determination had kicked in, everybody went to the one place they all knew that they came in and out of, was the entrance, the main entrance of this place. You see there's an exit here, it's a stage exit, but hey, come with me, there's a way out this way kind of thing. But no one realized these types of things with their surroundings, and here's 2 more exits on this side through the kitchen. However, this is your entertainment area, which is the bulk of the people, and their only reaction was, I know one way in and one way out. And it was right through here. And and I do correlate some of this with my job, because some people only know one way to go to work and one way to get home. So you catch people driving down the shoulders, you see them doing things off the wall, like driving the wrong way on the road. It's the same concept. I only know this way. You can't have that one-track mind. I believe this is not a video. But that was the people trying to get out of that main entrance of that bar. All right, so we're back to deliberation. So what I said before, keep yourself calm, think clearly, right? Breathe. Take the panic out of your emotions and shift it in, what's my plan for what I need to do for whatever the event may be? These are the things that we look at to get you in the mindset of how I'm going to react to something, in this particular case, an active shooter. Stay fit. Well, I can tell you right now, Thanksgiving got the best of me, so. But anyway. All right. Your script, you practice it. This place, for example, you come here every Sunday. What are my plans of escape? Which way can I get out? Even though it's routinely, keep in mind, don't panic, because you get that panic mode, you will forget everything except the one way I know to get it out, and it's there, and that might not be accessible. So you always have to keep in mind your other alternate routes and not get stressed out and just get that one-track mind. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, sorry.
So you probably noticed the exit right here. Yeah, the sign. But in the panic, obviously everybody's looking around, so that way you want something pointed to that panic.
Oh, I'm sorry. You need. Here you go.
Thank you. So everybody can see the exit sign over here, but in an emergency, more than likely everybody's going to go out the way they came in, unless somebody has taken the time to point out, hey, in an emergency, think about this exit. Especially if it's an active violence situation. Wherever that active violence situation is not the direction you want to go, so you need to think about your alternatives for exiting the building. We have that exit, we have this exit, and we also have this exit, which is less publicized. We probably should get an exit sign over that door. That door also has a staircase that goes down to our library, and in the basement just outside the library, you turn to the right and there's an exit to the outside of the building, and you would exit over there. So basically from our sanctuary, we have 3 options in an emergency that we can exit the building. But unless we've talked about it and thought about it, then you probably wouldn't know what to do in an emergency. Does anybody have any questions about exits and emergency exits? That one is not. That's a very good question. That door, if you go in that, you come out this door over here. That's your only option. And it's not a real good place. It's better than nothing if you're looking for a place to hide because they can't see you, but it's just drywall, so it's not a real safe place either. So, but it's better than nothing. If you're looking for a place to hide, it's better than nothing. Any other questions?
There we go.
That's a good point for what Ken Blank just told you guys. And granted, we all remember in school, what did you always do every so often at random? Fire drills. Now, what do kids do today? Active shooter drills. I haven't even heard of a school doing a fire drill anymore. But most of them, they do, okay, most of them are doing these active shooter drills. The mindset of a teenager today and doing those, it's like, oh, we're doing the same thing over and over again. They get lackadaisical in that mindset. And I've been to a few in Fairfax City High School and a couple of middle schools. And what we do is try to give them some insight for the school resource officer, the school itself, some suggestions for things. One of the biggest things we noticed in two of their schools that we participated in is they had no covering over the classroom doors. So you know that little window where you could see in? They went and made solid either plastic or cloth that's dark that you can't see. They drop it right over the door so no one can see in there during those drills. But again, you practice your script. And he's right. How many of y'all would go straight back to that door and thinking that's the only way out? I would, because this is my first time here. Well, second time here, but you know, I know I came in that way. I know I can get out. I didn't know about that door, and I probably wouldn't have looked at the exit sign. He's 100% correct about that, because I know I came in that way. So then we go to that section now called the decisive moment. What do I do next? I've calmed down. Do I run, fight, hide, whatever the case may be? This is a video.
Little less than a month ago, 3 childhood friends were on a train bound for Paris when they heard a gunshot. Amid screams and commotion of the passengers, they quickly focused on a man wielding an AK-47. Almost instantly, one of them said, "Let's go," and the 3 ran toward the shooter. Those 3 friends are with us here today. Thank you, Alec, Spencer, and Anthony, for what you did on that train and for joining us here. And that's because after Alec said, "Let's go," he and Spencer and Anthony sprinted toward the gunman while he trained his rifle on them. Spencer tackled the assailant, and the 3 worked to disarm him. As we know, Spencer was stabbed in that effort. After they knocked out the gunman, they tended to other injured on board before paramedics and police arrived.
It's a moving moment. They're still alive to tell it. Why? They reacted. That was their choice. That was the human brain thinking, we're going to fight. So then there's that denial. And that little speaker is a gunshot if you want to hit the button for it. I don't know if I can do it on here. All right, so the first time you hear that, what would you think? Okay, maybe that was a car backfiring or, a loud exhaust system, or maybe somebody's car cranked up in the parking lot and it just had, too much rich gas in it or something like that. Is that always the case? Could it always be the case? Could it be the case? It could be. But that first reaction is what turns you into calm down, think about what you're doing or what's going on, and then your decision on what you're going to do. But the first time, and one of the video, if we have time for it at the end, will show you that reaction at first. When you hear that first gunshot, it's like, oh, what was that? And then you go back to doing your normal thing, and then you hear that second one like, uh-oh, that sounds a little different. Now you're starting to get your adrenaline up, the stress is going up. Again, I know that one way in, one way out, and that might not be the best choice. Playing dead.
We heard the first shots at around 9:40 a.m. I was sitting on the wall of the classroom, so in the hallway, and I could hear the shots getting closer and closer very quickly. I mean, there was only a few seconds between the first time we heard them and when he actually walked in. To me, it sounded like an axe being taken to a piece of wood. And our teacher, she opened the door, and she peered outside, and she immediately shut the door, and she said, "Call 911." And right then, he walked in just seconds after. There's absolutely no time to think or to duck or to take cover, and people just kind of fell to the floor. And he immediately walked in shooting, and he went to the other side of the classroom, and he started going down the rows. He went down each row very quickly, very purposefully. And I remember thinking, your turn is coming. You're going to get shot. I mean, I didn't realize there was an active shooter, but I knew something bad was happening. He came back to our classroom 3 times, and on the 3rd time, he killed himself in the front of the class. In between each time he was there, you could just hear people crying and coughing, and the cell phone started ringing. When he was in our class, I remember trying not to breathe very much, so he couldn't tell I was alive. Because as my stomach was hitting the chair, I was thinking, you know, he can see me breathing, he can see me alive, and that was very scary. I'll never forget when the SWAT team first broke in at around 9:51. The officer in the front of the classroom said, "We have a lot of blacks in here." And at the time, I couldn't comprehend what he was talking about, but he meant triage codes. And I remember looking into the girl to my right and realizing, you know, what black meant. He looked over me and he said, first he said yellow, and then he changed it immediately and he said red. And that's when I first started panicking. I still couldn't speak. I was shot 3 times, lying on my back, and I remember thinking, what do you see? Like, what can you see on me that I can't, that you would change me from yellow to red? He killed 12 people in my classroom, including our teacher.
You all know where that was at? It's in Virginia. Virginia Tech. Yeah. All right, so then we move on to the hide and hope. Again, this is one of those options that, is that the right thing for me to do? If you can't get to these exits, where's my next safest place to go to? So again, it leads to that. I've calmed down. What am I going to do? Like that young lady said before, she stopped breathing, or she held her breath, so to say, because the shooter is, it's like they're down. Let me go find someone else that's still moving and walking and breathing. I want to get as many people as I can. So avoid, run, go to your exits. This is the ADD. Deny equals hide, and defend and fight. Pretty much the same thing. This is another video. This is a board meeting, and I forgot what it was specifically about, but a gentleman came in. This is fairly old, and I believe he either lost his job or something to that effect, and he actually opens fire on this board. Do you all want to see this or not? You do? We can bypass this. I forgot exactly where. It's been so long, but where was it at? Sorry. Panama City. Okay. Did it say the year by chance? It's fairly old, but we don't have to watch that if you don't want to watch it. Just bypass it. Okay. Sorry. There we go. All right. So we talk about avoid and run. Leave as soon as possible. Know your exits. Call 911. Same things we rated before, but now you kind of put all this in play. You calm down, decision making, and again, in between that, you're like, was that a gunshot? That sounded like a gunshot, or was it a car? Those things are all starting to play into perspective on how you respond and react to different things. This one doesn't show anything, but this one doesn't show anything, but this is actually, you saw the person going with the gun. What's the first thing people do? Hey, I'm out of here. My reaction is spot on. I am gone. So then we have the person, I don't know if y'all can see it, but they're sitting right there in the corner. This falls under that hide scenario. And what could you do if you were in a position like that? One, in this particular case, it does say consider the secondary exits. Again, just like in this facility here, these two right here. But if that's not an option and you get locked into these types of situations, that's a secondary option for them to go at an exit. Or go up on the roof. You can lock the hatch or have something put over top of it. Then there's the hide. These two kind of went together the way how this PowerPoint was put together, but locking the door, lights out of sight, out of mind. And this is one of the things that the kids in schools need to understand, total silence. And the teachers, again, in addition to putting that flap over the door, they also turn the lights off in the classroom. So barricade, and that's your other option when it comes to the hiding part of it or denying part of it. Door stops, heavy objects, whatever you can put up against the door to keep it from being breached as best you can. So it looks like a cart of some sort. That's another cart. Anything like that in there, you could push up against it or wedge the two together between the wall or anything you can to try to brace the door to deny access. One thing, if you notice, it goes back to what I said earlier. What do active shooters want? Large numbers. Do you really think they're going to spend a lot of time, because they know the police is coming at some point, trying to get in that room? No, they're going to go down to the next victim that they can find and continue what they want to do. Door stops. Lowe's, Walmart, Home Depot, Target. These things are what, $2 or $3? Those actually, you can wedge them in a door, and it's hard to open. From the bottom, the top, however you feel you can get that door wedged, in addition to putting a chair or, a pew or anything like that up against it just to keep from someone entering the room that you're trapped in. You can use rope, tension sleeve, in this case a belt, if that helps. Obviously you don't stand in front of the door, but you offset yourself from it. And that, again, what's on the other side of this wall if they do decide to shoot? There's brick. But you can hold this door, if you have to try to prevent that person from coming in there, because that access, they want to get in there and then go to the next person, go to the next person. That's their goal. So spending time fighting with a door, a lock, or, a bunch of stuff wedged up against it, I'm not saying they won't try, but their time is, I want to get as many people as I want. And then they got the different types of door locks that you can use to brace things. And all that is a C-lock, which it goes inside a steel frame and it just holds it there. You cannot pull that door open. Just options you could have for any type of things like that as well. This is about the Sandy Hook, if I'm not mistaken, and what one of the school teachers did with the kids who wouldn't mind hitting play.
All day we have met people who remind us what teachers do, how much they care even in the face of terror. And I sat down with a first grade teacher at that school, Caitlin Rowick. She heard gunfire, large windows exposed her classroom, so she managed to rush 15 small children into a tiny bathroom to try to save their lives.
I put one of my students on top of the toilet dispenser. I just knew we had to get in there. I was just telling them it's going to be okay, you're going to be all right. I pulled a bookshelf before I closed the door in front of it. So it was we were completely barricaded in. I turned the lights off.
Did you tell them to be quiet? Did you worry about one of them?
No, I told them to be quiet. I told them we had to be absolutely quiet. Because I was just so afraid that if he did come in and then he would hear us and then he would maybe just start shooting the door. So I said, no, we just have to be absolutely quiet. And I said, there are bad guys out there now. We need to wait for the good guys. They're coming down. I wanted us to be okay. And I'm so saddened that there are people who in this situation are not okay. And my heart goes out to anyone who knew them and was a part of their lives. I just can't imagine.
Did they cry?
No, if they started crying, I would like take their face and say, it's gonna be okay, show me your smile. Like I really tried to and one of my students was, would say like things like, I know karate, so it's okay, I'll lead the way out. Like,
They really said to you, we want to go home for Christmas.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Or I just want to hug my mom, or just, things like that were just heartbreaking, and like in my mind, I mean, because you're hearing, I've never been a part of something obviously anywhere near this traumatic. And so I'm hearing the gunfire in the hallway, and I'm thinking in my mind, I'm the first classroom. Why isn't he coming? I'm thinking we're next, and and in my mind I'm thinking, as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, what are your thoughts? What are your, and I'm thinking that I have to almost be their parent. Like I have to tell them, So I said to them, I need you to know that I love you all very much, and that it's going to be okay, because I thought that was the last thing they were ever going to hear. I thought we were all going to die. And I don't know if that's okay, teachers, and, but I wanted them to know someone loved them, and I wanted that to be one of the last things they heard. Not the gunfire in the hallway. It's just so horrible. Horrible.
How did you know you were going to be okay? What happened?
I didn't. What finally happened was the gunfire stopped. The gunfire wasn't that long, so that stopped, but I said, no, we're not going anywhere. We're staying here until someone good comes in, gets us out. So eventually what happened was the police came and started knocking, and obviously, I was completely beside myself, and I said, I don't believe you. You need to put your badges under the door. So they put their badges under the door. I said, if you're really a police officer, then you would have a way to get in here. You would have a key, or you would have gotten it from the janitor. If everything's okay now, you would have found the keys. So he had the keys, and he found the right one, and he unlocked the door, and then they brought us out to the firehouse to meet up with the rest of the teachers and students, waiting for parents to come and pick them up.
I think there are a lot of people who wish.
Interesting story, isn't it?
All day we have.
So again, there's nothing wrong with hiding. Again, it's a case-by-case scenario, and what are you thinking and what your plan is to deal with that situation. So in that teacher's position, she chose to hide, silence the kids, which are elementary school kids. But in other situations, if you do hide, and the idea is, I don't have nothing to wedge to the door, I don't have anything to prevent them from, or no lock, for example, on the door. What is your next thing that you have to keep in mind if something happens is you may have to fight. You may have to go against that person. And I'm not just saying you by yourself, but if it's 5 people in a room, hey, if he comes in here, I'm tackling. I don't know what you're going to do, but I know what I'm going to do, because you have it in your mind what you want to do to survive this. So then, this is a short video too. So this gentleman here, you'll see what everybody else does, and I believe there's a person in there with a gun or something of that nature, but watch his reaction to what's going on in here. Play. Y'all see what he grabbed? He's alive to tell it. Because he had in his mind, he knew what he was doing, he knew what his reaction was to these things. This is what I'm going to do. This has got to stop. I don't want to die. So I'm assuming that was the cheapest bottle of wine, but he took a wine bottle, and there it is. But seriously, it's your reaction on how you handle any type of situation. But again, specifically to this, there's nothing wrong with that hide and go straight to fight. And that's where those 3 letters, ADD, or run, hide, fight, come into play as far as your reaction. But it goes back, and I know I keep reiterating this from beginning to end, it's bring the stress level down. What did I hear? Okay, I know I need to do this. That's your decision making. Now, I'm in this position that I'm going to hide. I need to be quiet, wedge the door. Okay, I don't have nothing. What do I do next? Okay, I got a baseball bat or a stick or something here, or I'm going to tackle this person when they come in this room. I have no other way out. And you have a right to defend yourself. You all know that. And what you do matters. It does. You've seen these people react to these different situations and the outcome of them. So this is a little bit of like a flow chart of the attack starts, the primary exits, yes, then you've avoided because you've gotten out of it. You've probably called 911 or maybe helped someone else get out of the building at another exit or something like that. If not optional, then you deny. So you deny access to where you're at for the attacker. Are there other exits that I could try to get out if he bypasses the door that I'm at or wherever the shooter may be? And then you can get out and go back to avoid. You've exited the building and regroup. And then when there's no other options left and you are in that trap position, it's defend. It's fight and defend at that point. Norris Hall, Virginia Tech. I went down there, I think, that evening after that had taken place. I never went in the building. It was more like night security, I believe, is what I was assigned to do. But so this is Norris Hall and that those classrooms in particular that the shooter, I'm going to say the shooter because there's a part about that why, had been at. So green, you see our survival, the yellow and the red, which is what that student was talking about earlier. As he made his way down these classrooms and walked in, opened the door, fired rounds and all that kind of stuff. And you see how it goes from a couple of green to a few yellow to more and more red. But room 204 chose the option of going out the second floor window. And it's a drastic measure. You make that decision, It's however you need to, whatever you need to do, but that's your decision you make. No one got hit in that room. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was the room that had the door locked or barricaded. And you stay silent. And then that's the percentages of who was shot and who was killed.
I was down there too. The room where Nobody died, there was an instructor who followed your plan to deny access because he laid across the threshold of the door.
That's right. That's what it was.
So he himself, because he's a Holocaust survivor, and he decided that he was going to sacrifice himself to make sure that his students had an opportunity to live. That's how that room survived.
That's an amazing thought, isn't it? All right, so what do you do when the police arrive? Well, obviously, law enforcement, what's their first mission? Go straight to the threat. And then this is a short video of how, I think it's a group of students react to law enforcement commands.
Are you ready? If you're not cool, I'm not walking them, dude. Sir? Go. Walk to that deputy right there. Keep your hands right to him. All the way to that deputy. You're going to make the left of the deputy's out. Thank you. Try to relax, everyone. Try to relax. I'll take a bullet before you do. That's for damn sure. Just be cool, okay?
Don't take offense to a police officer challenging you in an instance like this. Our job is to challenge people to vet. We don't know who's in there. If they said the shooter was wearing a green shirt, Well, if it's a school or even a business, how many people have a green shirt on? What's the descriptor? Does he have a beard? Is he 5'7"? There's 6 people that look like that. That's all we know is what's been told to us. So no one should never take offense to a police says, put your hands up, but I'm a Vic, put your hands. It's, hey, just keep moving, listen to their commands, what they say in this case. That gets everybody out clearly, and you're vetted at that point. Somebody's got an attitude and try to blend in with a group like that that's shot a bunch of people, and they're not going to listen. Chances are it's going to end up being a conflict. So then we move on to medical. Anybody basic first aid, volunteer firefighter, anything like that? Doctor? Doctor? Doctor, not doctor like degree doctor, but doctor. Doctor, okay. All right, doctor. That was from a movie, Doctor, anyway. So we go beyond the threat at this point. What can you do in the meantime? And let's say it's still an active threat and you have the shooter has bypassed where you're at and looking for other people in a building or facility. What could you do if you had somebody with you? Basic first aid. Someone's gotten shot in the shoulder, the leg, the arm, stabbed with a knife. The basic things you can do. CPR if it's needed. So there's a lot of things that goes beyond that point of your decision making. This is part of it. People needing help. If you call 911, that is helping them. Hey, look, we've got a lot of people injured in this section or area, or whatever the case may be. And that could be during the shooting or after. But at some point, having a little bit of some basic knowledge of first aid. Do y'all have first aid kits in here? Okay, but you have one easily accessible for anybody here? Okay. So, basic things like that to help others is, again, it's a decision making of what you need to do at the time it's taking place. Tourniquets. I mean, we actually, and Ken knows this too, we actually have trauma kits that we carry. And we haven't done it. I hope we never have to. But if we actually have to respond to an active shooter event up here, a trooper has it's a go bag, and it has trauma kits, door wedges, all these things that we might need to protect ourselves. So if they try to flank us, we've checked certain areas behind this type thing. I think we actually have a pry bar or something if we need to get into certain areas. But the trauma kits we have are used for tourniquets, to stop blood flow, anything like that. And if you have to take your shirt off or rip a pants leg or something like that to try to help someone. I'm not saying everyone's a doctor, but just some basic knowledge of, what can you do to try to help someone. And correct me if I'm wrong, but high and tight on a tourniquet for the most part, right? So then where do you go after this? And this is actually Ken's strongest topic for critical stress management. What are your feelings after something like this? How do you deal with the trauma of I could have died, or I saved someone's life today, or I saw someone die today? And how do you deal with that type of thing? How do you cope with it? It's a mental trauma. And I go through it, and you find ways to cope with it, and it's stressful. And when I say that, it's when we have to investigate a traffic fatality and I have to get there, that is very traumatizing when you think about it, because it's like you wish this didn't happen. And again, I'm speaking from the job perspective, but just the mindset of saying, someone's son or daughter passed away from a traffic crash, it's traumatic. And it's hard to tell families that. In cases like this, what would you do to try to alleviate some of that mental trauma? And it's not going to clear up overnight. And I'm sure these people that you watch speak are still dealing with it today. This is what I was talking about earlier about not naming them. Every time in the news, what do you see? You see the shooter's name blasted for days and weeks all over the news, but you never hear about the victims. I think this one has, I got to remember the name. What's this one's name, Kenneth? At what school? Should say it. Okay. So, in summary, we spoke about the active shooter events, disaster response, and again, that's after the fact of a mass casualty type event. And remember, avoid, deny, and defend. Any questions? Oh, and I'm sorry, the Virginia Tech case study, which was the chart we looked at earlier. Any questions? Would y'all like to watch a 10-minute video? It's pretty good, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Do the police department provide any type of training for people in self-defense?
I know Fairfax does. I don't know if Prince William does. And as far as what, like a physical hands-on class or I'm not sure if they do here in Prince William. I'm not 100% sure. No one's ever asked me that before. I know we've done it in more of a fashion of speaking, like we'll put a presentation together, but physical, we don't have like a mat to show you how to do stuff, and we don't have nothing like that.
So Fairfax County Police Department does a really good self-defense course, and I'll make sure that next time they advertise it, it's put out to the congregation. Prince William, I'm not aware of them doing one. They've done them in the past, but I'm not aware of them currently doing them. We can do something on our own if we want. I used to teach defensive tactics, but if we do it, it's going to be very basic stuff because the department, no police department's going to accept the liability of teaching you the higher level stuff. You'd have to go to like a martial arts course for that. But if the congregation wants a really basic level of self-defense, I could teach something like that, and I can play. Right. Okay. Ronches?
Yes, sir. Is that on that screen? Okay. So this is just it's a reenacted video. It's pretty short, 10 minutes long, but it just gives you an insight, putting everything together and how to react.
There's a gunman inside the store. We need help now.
Do anything last weekend? It was very nice, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. What about is the new system enhancement. What's going to be the solution by the time we...
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Actually think he's got he's got a truck. I don't know if your daughter would be interested. Yeah, definitely. Now, she figured out what college she wants to go to.
We need help. There's a gunman inside the store. He's shooting the place up. We need help now.
Issues that we found. Okay, Emily, see what that is. See what's going on.
See the reaction.
There's a man with a gun. He's right there. Where's the wall? Lights. Lock it.
County. There you go. You're safe for that.
There's a guy with a gun. He's shooting. Look.
James, we don't have
No, look.
Run! 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 To the right! To the right! To the loading dock! Come on, this way, this way, this way!
Oh, no, come here.
Yeah, in here, in here. The gunman's coming.
What are we gonna do?
We're gonna have to defend ourselves.
I can't do this.
You're gonna see your daughter tonight, okay? We are all going to go home tonight, all right? We have a right to defend ourselves. Get the gun! Get the gun! Hey! Hold him down, hold him down!
Gosh, I'm just so glad you're okay.
Yes, we're all gonna go home. Everybody's going home.
Yeah.
If you ever have the misfortune to be in an active shooter event, you deserve to survive. In our research, we have found that the actions that potential victims take during these events are critical to their survival. We have identified 3 options that have proven effective in many events. These are: avoid the attacker, deny the attacker access to your area, defend yourself. It is a personal decision, but you have a right to do so. Avoiding the attacker starts with being aware of your surroundings at all times and knowing what is going on around you. If you
It ended. No, it should be the one. Should be one total complete video, because it recaps everything. That's. No, that's a totally different active shooter. Yeah.
survive. In our research, we have found that to exit. Additionally, look at the reaction of others. Are they startled or scared? Are they running? What are they saying? Any one of these events individually may create denial, but when put together should create a heightened awareness and see or hear.
I'm sorry.
There's a gunman inside the store. We need help now.
If you ever have the misfortune to be in an active shooter event, you deserve to survive. In our research, we have found that the actions that potential victims take during these events are critical to their survival. We have identified 3 options that have proven effective in many events. These are: avoid the attacker, deny the attacker access to your area, defend yourself. It is a personal decision, but you have a right to do so. Avoiding the attacker starts with being aware of your surroundings at all times and knowing what is going on around you. If you see or hear something that looks suspicious, take action. For example, the stalker took immediate and effective action to protect himself when he observed the shooter pulling out weapons from the bag. Others, however, hesitated, and this hesitation can cost them valuable time that they could have used to get away from the threat. If you hear something that is, or could be, gunfire, start trying to get away from it as soon as possible. Gunfire has a distinctive sound. Inside of buildings, the sound can be muffled or distorted. A single loud bang could be a person dropping something, or even thunder. But repeated loud bangs are much more likely to be gunfire. Additionally, look at the reaction of others. Are they startled or scared? Are they running? What are they saying? Any one of these events individually may create denial, but when put together should create a heightened awareness and stimulate an immediate response. It is important that you know how to get out. The situation will be chaotic and rapidly changing. In general, you will want to go to the nearest exit. But you must also understand that the closest exit may not be accessible or safe to use. If this is the case, go to a different exit. While avoiding the threat, consider the uses of cover and concealment. Cover offers protection from gunfire, while concealment minimizes your exposure to the attacker. Try to keep objects between you and the attacker. If you can't avoid the attacker, sometimes the best option will be to deny the attacker access to your location. In many locations, this can be accomplished by closing and locking a door, such as they did in the meeting room. Locking the door has proven effective in many attacks. If the door does not have a lock, you can place heavy objects in front of it. Remember, barricades work best if the door opens toward you. If it doesn't, use things that are readily available, such as straps, belts, or objects that can be used to block or secure the door to make it difficult for the attacker to enter the room. This may at least slow the attacker down and give you time to identify alternate means of escape, such as adjoining rooms or windows. When attempting to deny access to your location, you want to make it appear that there is no one in your area. Lock doors, turn off the lights, silence your phones, and get out of sight. Your attempt to deny the attacker access to your location might fail.
The gunman's coming.
What are we going to do?
We're going to have to defend ourselves.
Have a backup plan about what you will do. In many cases, this may be to defend yourself. You need to be in a place where you can act if the attacker comes into your location. In most rooms, you will line up against the same wall that the door is on, near the door so you can react, but not directly in front of it. If you are unable to avoid or deny, your best option may be to defend yourself by using whatever is available. In a situation where someone is attempting to kill you, you have the legal right to defend yourself. Attack weak spots such as eyes, throat, and groin. Fight to the best of your ability and do not quit until the attacker is stopped.
Get the gun!
This is what the workers in the warehouse did when they were unable to avoid the attacker and felt their lives were in immediate danger. Whatever option you choose, call 911 as soon as you are in a safe location. Provide any
It may feel like just another day at the office, but occasionally, life feels more.
stopped. This is what the workers in the warehouse did when they were unable to avoid the attacker and felt their lives were in immediate danger. Whatever option you choose, call 911 as soon as you are in a safe location. Provide any information that you know. The operator will ask you a lot of questions. If you don't know the answer, don't guess. Just say you don't know and only state the facts.
I'm not sure. There's 3 of us in the room. We're on the... Who's the guy with the gun? He's shooting.
This will be a complex situation, and we can't tell you what you should do in every case. What we can do is provide you with information about the options that we have found to be most effective for surviving these attacks. The ultimate choice is yours. What you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Law enforcement will be entering a chaotic scene with limited information. Their first priority will be to stop the threat to your safety. The police may not know where or who the threat is. Listen and comply with their commands immediately.
Put it down, sir. Put it down. Both of you on the ground.
Police are trained to look at people's hands to assess threats. Do not have anything in your hands that could be perceived as a weapon, such as a cell phone.
Show me your hands, sir. Show me your hands. Move to us. Everybody, keep your hands up, please. Walk out the door.
If told to do so, stay where you are and do not make sudden movements. Again, follow all commands. Remember, what you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Remember, ADD. You can survive.
Did y'all want to watch the other one? The other one, I thought I played before. It's a little bit shorter. Did y'all want to see that one too? All right, so that's that second one. Or the second one.
It may feel like just another day at the office. It may feel like just another day at the office. But occasionally, life feels more like an action movie than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911. If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight. Act with aggression. Improvise weapons. Disarm him. And commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what. Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
So did those videos give y'all a perception of everything that led up to today? Does it make sense? All right. Does anybody have any questions about anything at all? Yes, ma'am.
All the high crime, the giant food and other places that have one way in, one way out. So it's...
911, what's your emergency? There's a gunman inside the store. We need help now.
What was that? I'm sorry. What was that last part?
How do we get out if there's an incident like at the Giant? Because now you can just go in one door and out one door because of the high theft. They've taped it off or locked the other door, so how can you get out?
So most of those facilities, due to liability reasons, they have just made it look like you can't use those doors, but if you push on them, they will open. Because for liability reasons, they know that if there's a fire and people get hurt and they have made those doors impassable, that they're going to get sued and lose a lot of money. So usually they've just made it look like you can't use them, but you really can. Additionally, the employee exits in the back of the store are an option. So I know that's a really good question because you wouldn't think about it. But if it's an active shooter situation or an active violence situation, you're in a store, there's no reason why you can't run towards the back where it says employees only. And I guarantee you there's going to be an exit back there.
Like the loading docks. That's a good point. It's a very good question. Yes, ma'am.
In the video, as one of the gentlemen exiting, I saw a fire alarm thing. Why couldn't you just pull the fire alarm?
So early CRACE training taught us to pull fire alarms, but we've learned that sometimes the people committing active violence will use that against civilians. So we teach you not to pull the fire alarm now. Because like in the Columbine shooting, in fact, they had several things that didn't go as they had planned. If their plans had worked, there would have been a lot more casualties. And one of the things that part of their plan was to sit at fire exits and kill people as they came out the fire exits. So it was a horrible situation. People died. It was horrible, but it could have been a lot worse if their plans had gone the way they had intended. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, how do you get them?
How do you feel about it?
Oh, how do I feel? I'll let Ronchez answer it first. How do you feel about concealed weapons?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of firearms cases back when I was a trooper. I'm sorry.
The question was, how do you feel about concealed weapons permits?
Yeah. Me as a police officer, or you as far as the citizen? The citizen, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't disagree with it, but then again, I agree with it because as long as a person's responsible, and that's my biggest concern is responsibility. No, again, in situations like this, I wouldn't have it on me because the police officer is going to challenge you. And that's one thing we probably didn't cover, it doesn't really go over it. So let's say you did have a weapon on you and this took place. Yes, you're probably doing the right thing to defend yourself, and I'm not telling you what to do. As the one video said, we can't tell you everything to do in each situation, but you got to remember that the thing that drew law enforcement there was gunshots. Are you a friend or foe? We don't know and you get challenged for that. And you have specifically got to listen to police officers in situations like this, or either ditch the gun and say, look, I put a gun in whatever. But you got to understand, again, nothing wrong with it as long as a person's responsible for their actions if they deem to use it.
In the aftermath of something like this, the chances are if you have a weapon in the aftermath of something like this, you're probably going to be taken into custody, you're probably going to be handcuffed, and your weapon's probably going to be seized until they can be sure you weren't part of the violence.
Right.
That's something you should be prepared for and to comply with instructions. My personal opinion on firearms is the bad guys don't care about the law. It's the good guys that care about the law. And so most people who go and get a concealed carry permit, I'm generally not too worried about because they're following the law. That's my personal opinion. It may be short-sighted, but that's my personal opinion on it. Any other questions? All right, so a couple of things. Specific about our facility. So we talked about the exits. Thinking about places that you can successfully hide. You can hide behind the pews. That's not the greatest thing because somebody can see you just by walking along, but it's better than nothing. It's hard to harm you if they can't see you.
I'm sorry. You're right on track. I'm just going to try to interject one thing with what you're saying with it. So based on what he's saying, I'll tell you right now, there's a man getting ready to is walking through that door, is fired a shot. Play it off of that. What would y'all do?
So
you found the exit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
How about the other side? And he's walking in that way.
Well, if I'm in here with my family, I'm taking
So you're going to check. So you're going to get back to that wall and wait for him to come.
Every scenario is going to be different.
You're right.
I'm along with my wife, and
Right.
I can shoot her.
Right.
I can get out the door. I'm going to go out the door.
Right.
If I'm sitting here with my entire family, and their lives depend on me.
Right.
Well, and sitting here in this situation, if he comes in that door, we are all sitting ducks. Everybody gets up, goes, so what do you do in these situations?
But remember those three.
You have an exit, so everybody's jumping up and running through an exit.
Right.
And
But,
he's standing there with a gun.
but that goes back to each individual's mind of thinking, what am I going to do as opposed, right.
I'm sitting over there in a wheelchair gap with my son.
Mhm.
What do I do? How do I get him out safely? How do I? Because I've decided I'm going to sit on that side of the building.
Right. No. Well, I see what you mean by that, right.
Well, we usually sit over here, but there's no exit.
Right.
So that's the most important that's the most important reason for this kind of training, is so that you think about things like that.
Think about these things, because that, even just navigating, getting him into that gap is difficult. So then getting out is going to be.
So logically, with the number of people we had in this congregation today, if everybody goes for that door, there's going to be a log jam.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
What do you do?
so the fact that we all can make our own,
He gave an option.
the fact that we all are making our own decisions, the fact that everybody in this congregation makes their own decision, that some of us are going to choose something different, will help. Exactly.
Yeah.
We talked about that before. I told you before. Use the Word of God. Use the Word of God. Pick it up and throw it at him, because it's hard to carry out his plan if he's got 30 or 40 Bibles or hymnals coming at him. Yeah, absolutely. You can go out that way. If you've got several people going out that way, you've got several people laying down to hide, you've got other people going out this door, you've got other people attacking, you've got other people throwing Bibles and hymnals, that gives the people who decide that they're going to attack a better chance of being successful because of the distraction by everything that's going on. Whereas if we all practice the same thing, if we all are in the habit of we're going for that door, all we're going to have is this huge, massive target for
like the
somebody.
nightclub.
So.
The fire.
He's going to file at that door.
Right.
And you got a log jam, so then you got to start going in.
Right. Yes, sir.
It's a little tricky question. I'm just thinking about it, from time to time. Everybody's worshiping, focusing on what's happening out there. I'm the only one who surveys. Let's say there's not active shooter yet, but somebody looks suspicious or disturbed. I'm watching on it, but is there any way that I can sort of communicate that signal to some of us who can stay alert? Or how can we do that? Yeah.
That's a great question. Yes, sir.
Those lines, would it be reasonable for some of us that are a little more aggressive, even though I'm old, to sit in the very back, so that on both sides, so that.
That's a very good question, and both are very good questions. So I've been encouraging for years anybody who wants to be involved in security to sit in the back, because then we are closer to the entrance and the exit, and we also can see if somebody advances forward, we can see what's going on. But it might be better if we have enough people involved to actually have us in the four corners of the congregation rather than all in the back. However, I think that it would be great if we had this is being broadcast on YouTube. I should have told everybody that already. So I'm not going to suggest what we have, but perhaps we could have a safe word of some sort, where if you said it from the pulpit or somebody else shouted it from anywhere in the congregation, that everybody on the security team would know that there's a threat. And we need to talk about that on something that's not being publicly broadcast and come up with that. I think that would be a really good idea. So. Linda asked, is there a problem with locking the door? Absolutely not. The original safety plan that I wrote suggested that we should start locking the door after everybody's here. The problem with that is, and I'm guilty of it, sometimes people run late. So we've got to come up with a plan. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Right. So what I suggested was that we put a monitor out in the narthex where a security person could sit out there and watch the service from a monitor and still monitor the door as well. And if we wanted it locked, that would be fine. If somebody knocks on it, they can go see who it is. I think that's a really good idea, but there's some changes we have to make before that is implemented, I think. Monty has donated 2 video cameras. I need to look into how to set those up. That's definitely a possibility of putting a video camera out there.
I have a question for you and you. Man walks in with a bag, sits down right next to you. Everybody's service is getting ready, starts. He reaches down and pulls out a weapon. What are you two going to do? You're going to fight, right? You see what I'm saying about the options when you were talking about everyone piling to the door? Right. And that's the thing. That's the choice. But you got 2 people right here. I said, if he's right next to you and he does this and it's a gun, it's game on with these 2. That's the mindset they have. But, go ahead.
That video, the young man that was, stocking the shells, he's seen the guy putting the
earpieces in, right?
Earpieces and opening the back. I mean, that was the time to jump on it.
Right.
I
agree with you, but you want to, and I know that was a reenactment type thing, but how many people would even take the notion to notice someone walking into a department store with a long bag like this in the first place?
One of the guys that was stocking the shelves watched him walk by with the bag, and then the kid watched him set the bag down and open it up.
Right.
And the guy that watched him walk by didn't do anything.
But you see those reactions like, no, that's not real. I'm going to keep doing my own thing, and then it ends up being the actual thing. And that's why I said when they say deny, they mean deny access, but then sometimes I'll look at it as you deny the thought. Yeah, you don't want to believe it until you actually, oh no, now I got to do something. And that's when that stress kicks in, and you're like, we all got to go to this door. We all got to go one way, and no one has to do that. And you saw the social video that they showed the person out on the street until someone does something. Like these 2 right here, I can tell you, it's game on.
So something else to consider is the power of denial. The videos tried to show that, but the power of denial is a big thing. Over and over again, I've heard people say, I heard it, but I just didn't believe it. I heard it or I thought it was something else. I saw it and I thought it was something else. So you have to think about that. So sometimes when you see, like in the video, somebody walking right by somebody, again, the power of denial is huge. And so we have to understand that what we perceive to be somebody's reaction may not actually be what is going on in their mind. And that's how we prepare for this kind of thing, is to recognize that we can't rely on somebody else to make those decisions. We have to decide what's right for us and for our family, and we have to take that action. And because what I decide may not be right for you or for you or for you, all of us have the right to make the decision. But this kind of training is meant to get you started in the process of thinking about, what would I do? If this happened, if the worst thing happened, what would I do? How would I react? It's easier to change a plan than it is to come up with one. In an emergency, if you have no plan, you're probably going to freeze. He mentioned fight, flight, or freeze. That's the amygdala. The least advanced part of your brain controls your survival in an emergency, the amygdala. And it will, if it doesn't have a plan, if it doesn't have training, if it doesn't have something to react to, it's going to cause you to freeze. You're going to be like the bunny rabbit who stops and hopes that the wolf doesn't see him. Right. So this training is designed to hopefully get you thinking and preparing and working through the process of a plan, so that if something bad happens, the amygdala won't cause you to freeze. You'll have a plan, and you can change it if something tells you that it needs to change. That's easier. I don't know if that makes sense. Right. Anybody else? Questions or comments? All right. It's a less than 4 hours. I hope that's okay. I said 4 hours because it was I think it was originally advertised a 4-hour course, but I've never seen it actually go 4 hours. Well, but I wanted people to be prepared. Yes.
No. So I'll go on. So now I'll keep doing it.
Okay.
So if they don't have no, so now your shooter is where you've always trained your mind to look at for an exit now, and they're sitting right here. What is your reaction? Okay. Hey, that's a choice. That is a choice.
Right. I haven't had to think through this, so now I can start thinking through this.
Right.
I know with a fire emergency, I could go and zap
And don't get me wrong, like I said, I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. It just makes you think where you're at if something happens. What am I going to do when that happens? And like you said, your eyes are trained on that exit door. Now there's a threat here. What is your exactly? What is your reaction at that point?
It's a very good point, because in the Mother Emanuel Church shooting in South Carolina, the young man that committed that act of violence was actually in the church for I think almost 2 hours, because he was there participating in a Bible study before he started shooting people.
Did he have a backpack or anything?
I believe he did. I think he had a
did.
backpack with the gun in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So, but I don't generally carry it to church, but I carry a backpack with me almost everywhere I go when I'm working, because I have a lot of gear that I take with me. Exactly. Exactly. And we've got a purse over here that could easily conceal a weapon.
That is.
Yeah.
That is true.
And
and you're right. You're absolutely right. And today is not Friday, but yeah.
And I'm currently armed right now, and I don't have a backpack. So, I mean, backpack is something to think about, but it might not be the only way that somebody could carry weapons into our facility. So.
Well, if we see you with your backpack, we won't attack you.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Michelle brought a good point that we are the only congregation that is affiliated. So it's good to stay awake a little, stay alert.
Yeah. We are, because there is a group that's going to be hurt. And we saw hurt people with that school. And not too long ago, the trans person that shot up over there in Nokesville.
So it is a consideration. I had actually not meant to bring that up on YouTube, but it is. That's all right. It's a consideration. It's something that we do need to think about, and I hope people in the community know. I think people in the community know that we are a loving congregation, and we're not discriminating against anybody by the choices that we make in the effort to follow the Word of God. So I hope people know that.
As far as denying, sometimes you don't want to, you may see something, but you may not want to say anything because you don't want to offend anybody. But it would be better to offend someone, and take that chance than not offend and something really be wrong. And also, I was told by a police officer regarding my home and the safety of my home, he said, because I called and they came out and nothing was wrong. And he said, we would rather you call and us come out than not call and there's something terrible happens.
Absolutely, those are all good points. I teach suicide awareness and prevention, and one of the slides in suicide awareness and prevention talks about when somebody's suicidal that they'll probably be relieved when you ask them if they want help. They'll be relieved that you ask them, and you don't need to worry about them getting angry. And when I get to that one, I always say, I don't care if they're getting angry. I don't want to go to their funeral. It doesn't matter to me whether they're going to get angry. So we should fight denial, and we should take action if we suspect something's wrong. It's a very good point. Dave?
Well, if you get a solo shooter coming in, suppose he's got an accomplice. Mean, these school shootings, they had two.
Right.
So.
And to answer that, it goes back to that decision-making process. Regardless of how many shooters there are, is if you got one and there's another one, what is your reaction? Take the stress level down and still think it through. So if one does come through that door, or y'all hear him out in the parking lot and he's waiting to come in and you can't lock this door, and there's one coming through the back door and you're where you're sitting at now, it's fight time as soon as they come through the door. Another group of people may deal with that one. They may run out that door. They may go to wherever the other exit is up here. But it's all in how you all react. And I'm trying to think of a species of animal. Lions and tigers, for example. And when they hunt, when they're eating their prey or whatever it is, they're in packs. It's a team effort. Or what's the other? Is it a hyena? Yeah, they work as a pack, as a team. No one the human brain is a lot more complex than that. That is survival. Ours is survival of life and what choice I make for the best decision I make at the time that event happens. So you see how, hey, me and you, we're going to go after this guy. And you saw in that one video, they were trying to get that lady out from in there. Like, look, we can't wait. You need to go with us while there's a chance to get out the window. You may run into that. It's just all in what decisions you all make as an individual or as a team to come up with something to react to it before they actually get in here and get the upper hand on you.
So Dave, it's really, really rare in the United States to have multiple people involved in active violence. It does happen. The Columbine shooting was an example, but it's really rare. It's normally one person. However, it is almost universal that in the midst of it, people believe it's more than one person. And so that has to be a consideration also. You have to take action you make your plan, you decide what you're going to do, and take action to preserve life, if that's what however you're going to do that. But just realize in the midst of it, there's going to be confusion and misunderstandings.
100% correct on that. But you all kind of see how each person's thinking now, right? You see how one's thinking the fighting or where's my exit at, and that's the things you got to consider if hopefully it doesn't happen, but if something like this does happen, or wherever you're at, not just here. Like I said, holiday season right now, the malls are getting flooded every day with people, parking lots, any of those types of places, Christmas parades, I think they had a few of those. Any of this stuff could happen anywhere, whether it's a vehicular attack or a person with a firearm or even a knife just going around stabbing people. You got to be prepared as best you can, and that's basically what this presentation for is, to put a baseline thought process for you to understand what you can do rather than sitting there waiting for something to happen, waiting for the police to show up.
When you're under stress, it's hard to make a decision.
It is. It is. So. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I don't have any bad jokes to tell y'all for some strange reason. I normally have a good one, but nothing comes to mind right now. Yeah. So, anyway, yes, sir. Thank y'all.
All right, so if you join me in thanking Ranches, because it was a good class. And thank you all for being here. If there's anything you want to communicate to the safety committee, feel free to contact me or anybody else that's involved in safety. We're still figuring this out, but we're going to continue to work on it. Thank you very much for being here. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Yes, sir. Thank you.